Hello, lore heads, and welcome to the League, exploring the League of Legends lore from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John.
My name is Mark.
Today we're talking about the Butcher of the Sands, Renekton, who was released January 18th, 2011. Old boy.
Yeah. Not as old as his brother, but you know.
Wow. Wow.
You know what? It's fine. It's okay to be the younger sibling. You know.
Says all the younger siblings here.
I'm the older
Right.
sibling, and I'm giving that,
that's true.
that pass.
I always forget that.
Fucking grandpa over here.
Oh, grandpa.
I think it's
The
'cause I'm
oldest
younger
and
than
still
all y'all.
doesn't have gray hair.
Okay, you know what?
bitch.
We're going to put a halt on the gray hair bullying right now. I don't want this to become a fucking thing, okay? I don't want to get ripped
Mark
on.
is the youngest of the three of us, though. John's the oldest. All right, so on the Riot Universe page, Renekton has a bio and 3 short stories are linked. He's in 2 of them.
Yeah.
They were really proud of that third one. They're like, this is a great story. So we're just going to link it everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck all those people who have stories that are written for them that
That
are still
aren't
not
linked.
linked on their page.
You know, I could be wrong. I think the Shurima relaunch was like the first really big time they introduced a region post Institute of War. So I'm sure like they linked everything at the time because they're like, they held all the momentum. And it's like, we're going to do this
Yeah.
for every champion. Smash cut to like whoever having a billion dead links or nothing. So
Yeah, it's a bummer.
They had such high hopes.
yeah, it was like the start of the year, and they're like, "This is our resolution. We're gonna universe page." And now it's like December, and they're like,
What's
Put
a
it on the
universe?
Is that something Aurelian Soul does? Should we remake him?
Just get
And then
Anthony
disable
Reynolds
him.
to write a novel. We'll ignore everything else. All right. Yeah, we've been over a lot of this already because we talked about Nasus, and their lore is so tied together. And Azir, like we talked about Renekton so much with Azir,
Yeah.
that there wasn't really much new ground here, but
"No,
it's good review, I guess.
Yeah. And we get a different, he's got a different voice than Nasus does.
Oh,
So, like,
fuck,
what
I didn't
does he
listen to
sound
it.
like? Well, you're going to have to guess.
That's a good question. Okay. Yeah. No, hold on. Nope, I thought I had it. And I didn't have it. Hold on.
Oh my god.
I got choked up. I started thinking about it. As I live, all will die.
That's about what I
That's good, that's
expected.
good.
I'm going to do the quote that John wrote here
God
for
damn
me.
it!
No,
But Mark did the other one.
I was gonna do it. I was gonna do the one that Mark did. It was gonna be the funny
okay.
joke, but you
I
fucked
see.
it up. So I'm gonna do the other one that you hear.
No.
All will suffer as I have. Is that about it?
Pretty much. Yeah. You want to
What's-
find me?
No.
A new?
No,
I can give you
wrote
one.
I did all that work for you.
yeah, you wrote down one quote.
I
You
can
didn't
feed you
write
one.
down one quote.
All right, hang on. I got my voices of
I know
LOL
quotes.
app open.
I know quotes. I know Renekton's quotes. I play Renekton. But
All right,
no, at this
here we
point.
go.
There is no retreat.
There's no retreat.
Jesus Christ! Please look at the audio on that
Thank
sound
you.
wave.
Like Mount Everest, just like that peak right there.
I honestly think you blowing out the mic is going to make it more realistic.
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone knows Renekton sounds like he's like swallowing the microphone.
Right. He sounds like every kid playing Fortnite.
Yeah, John plays a lot of Fortnite over here.
Yeah. I make sure to keep comms on the whole time.
Yeah. You're keeping relevant. You're keeping in touch with the youths.
Hell yeah. Floss, am I right?
Ninja,
Get up and
right?
floss for us, John. Ninja with the blue hair. All right. I guess we should talk about Renekton.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Okay. Another Renekton impression over here. All right. Renekton was a normal fighter boy in Shurima. He was throwing a lot of hands and getting in trouble. So Nasus sent him to be in the Shuriman army. There, Renekton continued to slay bitches, but with a bit of discipline now. After many years, he got word that his brother was dying, so he went back to Shurima's capital. Nasus had gotten pretty, sick by then, and because he was the one who curated most of the knowledge in Shurima, he was deemed worthy of ascension. But he was too ill to climb the stairs. So maybe they should have had that discussion a few months earlier.
Bureaucracy, am I right?
I can just picture some guy looking, like he looks at Nasus. He's like, and he looks at the stairs. And he looks back at Nasus. It's like, this isn't my job.
Right? You're good, right?
What did they think?
Okay.
It's like, okay, they have to climb all these stairs to become immortal, and they're like, we'll wait until he's literally 45 seconds from death, and then be like, here, climb these stairs, you bitch.
You gotta want it.
Yeah, you gotta want
Fucking
it.
nerd. That's what you get for reading books instead of climbing stairs.
Right? All right, anyway. Oh god, where was I? Anyway, Renekton carried his brother up then, fully expecting to get killed, but instead both he and his brother became ascended. Renekton went back to fighting and was more brutal than ever, but they just kind of let him do it. It's just kind of a passing.
Because what are you gonna say to a big ass crocodile who wants to murder?
keep going, man. I don't know. Then the whole Azir Zera thing happened, when the villain Azir rightfully fell. Because he's a piece of shit. So anyway, Zereth is all pissed and destroying everything. Nasus and Renekton are pretty sure that they can't defeat him, so Renekton wrestled him to the Tomb of the Emperors and told Nasus to seal them inside. They were in there for like a while. Centuries, was it? I don't know. A long time.
Yeah.
And Zereth...
Uncounted centuries.
Uncounted years from the first breath of creation. They were sealed in this tomb. Zereth was messing with Renekton the whole time, and over many years in the darkness, Zereth was able to convince Renekton that Nasus locked him in there out of jealousy. Renekton and Zereth have now been freed, and Renekton is just blazing through Shurima trying to find his brother and kill him. Why didn't Renekton ever be like whispering at Zereth? Zereth's whispering at him all the time. He's like, hey, your friend is here. He's a piece of shit.
Because you need to whisper?
What?
Lips.
Oh.
In one of the stories, Graham McNeil writes that Renekton's voice is like that because of screaming so long in the box or whatever he called it. So maybe he had a really lovely voice.
Ooh, I would love
before
that.
he was sealed in there.
But he wasn't known for his intelligence, so maybe he tried to do it back to Zereth and kept saying stupid shit that didn't bother.
Oh, maybe.
You're so blue.
I like that he
You're
said he was,
beautiful shit.
that he was messing with Renekton, like he was like giving him like noogies and shit like that. He's like ruffling his hair, like, Man,
I'm
quit
your brother
messing
now.
with me.
I like the idea of them whispering back and forth to each other, and this just became like an ASMR box. We should make bank on YouTube.
Oh my god.
Anyway, that's Renekton's bio.
Yeah. Well, like you said, there's not a lot that's new here.
fine.
We
Yeah.
knew a
Yeah.
lot of it from Nasus's stuff.
It's not bad. There's just no surprises here. One thing that stuck out to me in the bio was there's a line where it says that oh, he went back to battle, he was ruthless as ever, and also there were whispers of battlefield atrocities, and then they just move on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that seems like a big escalation from, and he seemed a bit more ruthless than before. I don't know if we want to yada 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 over that.
Well, it's like you say, it's a giant fuck off crocodile monster demigod. Like what? I feel like the line between reasonable war effort and atrocity, it's I don't know, define that a bit more, right? Like when you
Right?
put someone
I
in
wanna
half,
know.
is that an atrocity? If it's 100 people, is that an atrocity? Like, is it just a
What's
statistic?
his level of war crimes here?
Right?
Exactly.
And Nasus
Yeah.
has never been a fighter per se. Maybe he just thinks atrocities are wait, he hit them?
Okay, I think he's not quite.
He was a
knows?
general, man. Okay,
Yeah, he was a general.
Yeah, he was, but
Yeah,
who
generally
knows
a
how they
nerd.
gave those positions away in Shurima.
Yeah, I would say that was, I guess maybe my complaint on this is that he becomes ascended. I guess why would he become ascended? I don't know. Obviously not all the ascended are great, glowing, wonderful leaders. So maybe it's just not the best system. The Sun Disc needs like a reevaluation or something.
Yeah.
But it's just they send it back out there and they're like, he's more brutal than ever, and it does really get brushed over. But they kind of like, I think I remember it saying that was part of the reason why Renekton decided to become sealed in. Like, he was aware he was becoming more brutal.
Oh,
Is
really?
that
I
it?
have to
Mysterious sun discs handing out animal powers is no basis for a system of government.
Wow, John. You're quoting Holy Grail.
I mean,
You're welcome.
I would have to read the bio again because I don't really remember that bit about him being aware of his own, like,
I feel like that was in
degeneration.
Nasus's bio, but
Maybe.
I don't know. Did you not? Were you just thinking about the Monty Python quote so much you didn't hear what I said?
I missed
before
what.
that?
No, I missed what Mark just said.
oh, just that we don't like. I didn't remember anything in the bio mentioning that he did it as a part of like, oh, I know I'm losing my shit, so put me in there. But
Put me in, coach.
put me in, coach. Put me in the box.
I thought I remember. I just wasn't sure if you remember from Nasus's bio if Renekton, like, to kind of make up for the fact that he was doing fucked up shit.
I would kind of like that. Because
I didn't remember that. It
Maybe I just made it up to make it make sense in my head.
Yeah, I thought it was
like
more
it.
of like a we're losing this fight, and
Yeah,
we're not
yeah.
gonna,
I mean, that makes
so
sense
just,
too.
So just
but
do it, bro.
yeah.
Also, literally until this read, for some reason in my head, I don't know why, the whole time they've been talking about how they were locked together in a crypt or whatever, I was imagining a sarcophagus, not a fucking underground city, like an underground, like fucking catacomb. I thought they were just like locked in a fucking, single tiny box together. I was like, man, that's gotta be real annoying. No wonder. But now it kind of seems like they're like playing tag down there almost.
yeah,
I could
liking
pass
this-
a few centuries away with doing that.
Yeah.
with Zareth whispering sweet nothings in your ear.
I like the image of them all like cramped together and like they just can't really move and whispers like Sarah's like, I fucking hate you. This fucking sucks. Fuck you.
Right? Like, no wonder
Move your
they're so
elbow.
mad.
I think it would have gone like an enemies to friends to lovers to enemies again, like all in the span of.
Think about how bad their breath must be after centuries in that tiny, tiny box.
Sarah's like pure energy. He doesn't have breath. But I bet you it
Yeah,
does.
think
stink.
about how bad Renekton's.
I guess there would be no air there. There'd be no breathing after a point.
That's true.
I
I
think
guess
it's
if they left him a crack. They left
They
them a
put
hole
a
to
straw
breathe.
up there.
punch little holes. Make sure they can breathe. Put some sticks and grass in there. So, yeah, I get what you mean about the sarcophagus. I think the sarcophagus thing. I think that's because I don't know. Maybe we'll see when we get to Zareth. But he's so often depicted as having been like chained up in a sarcophagus and then broke free, and that's like the physical part of him. So I don't know where that's coming from, but that feels right. I know what you mean. It was kind of weird
Maybe
to
it's
think about
old
like.
lore.
It might be. It was weird to think about them like you said, kind of running around, like just down in the dark. Just oh, is this you, Zareth? I'm feeling something
I'm gonna
squishy.
get you.
Oh, it's wet. It's wet. What is it?
What did you do out here?
you
What did I
shit?
just step in? Isn't it Renekton, you piece of shit?
He's messing
That
with
catacomb must have been mostly shit after eons.
Well, he's not
What's he gonna
eating. What
eat,
is he
right?
shitting? You're not thinking about how the body works.
it. He bleeds dirt and sand and shit. So like,
That's true. He
Yeah.
does bleach.
I did like.
Just don't think about the logistics too much.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is they're immortal, god, whatever. They just live forever, so you can kind of get past a lot of that stuff. But I like the idea of him self-sacrificing because that kind of lines up with some of his characterization in the bio before he went all ascended. Like, I do like that moment of him carrying Nasus up, thinking, I'm just going to get blasted, but Shurima will need Nasus in the future. They don't need me, but they need him. I was like, kind of like, I would like to see Renekton as a human, frankly, because I would like to see how he's changed so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that honestly, from the Azir story too, that seems to be the only thing you need to be ascended. Because the same shit happened with Azir.
That
when
is
he was
true.
like, oh no, my bloodline and such, I will. He didn't even sacrifice himself. He barely sacrificed anything. But he's like,
just
I'll
put her
do
in
this
water.
thing for you instead of doing it for me. And they're like, oh my god, a selfless act.
They're like,
I could be fucking ascended at this point.
I mean, you very well could be. The Sun Disk is just an idiot. It's just very easily fooled.
Oh, you did one nice thing. Clearly you are good.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard because like the Ascension stuff is always so vague, and they don't ever give us any of the hard like details around like this is how it actually works. It's always just like,
Yeah.
it's some magic
That's
shit.
a lot of power too for something.
It's different than I feel like it doesn't work as well as the way Targon works for me, because it's similar to Targon, but they really make it clear that climbing Mount Targon is such a feat that if you're able to do it, then you are worthy of a god's power.
Yeah,
So-
and even then, they just fucking piggyback in your body and take over
For
your
real,
mind. Targon
yeah.
has the worst deal.
Right? Whereas in Shurima, it's like a bunch of old crusty dudes get together and they're like, oh, they seem good. And then you climb up a flight of stairs.
Did you see? He shared his water with that lady. Give him the kingdom.
Give them the thumbs up.
You should be
Whatever.
immortal.
Yeah. It's a good
Yeah.
question. Just give me big Draven vibes. The him being a little punk who just fights a bunch as a kid. The brother thing. But
Yeah. Also, I liked that it said that Zareth convinced Renekton that Nasus, jealous of his success, had leapt at the chance to be rid of him and enjoy immortality alone.
Yeah, I
Like,
don't
who
know.
the fuck enjoys immortality alone?
well, he likes his books. He just
If there's one person who's going to...
yeah, right. He is the most exiled of any of those dark and ascended motherfuckers. So it kind of lines up, frankly.
Although I feel like no story we ever read of him did he seem happy.
Oh well, yeah.
No.
No, he seemed horribly depressed and possibly insane. But Oh, well.
Still imagining his little brother with him at all times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like,
Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I kind of like the Nasus Renekton stuff. That's why I
Yeah.
would like them as humans to get a little more tenderness there. I don't know. That's all.
Yeah.
I definitely find them way more interesting than Azir and kind of all of that mess going on. Brother story is definitely more interesting to me.
Yeah.
I would look forward to seeing them reunite in any way, even if it doesn't actually lead to a conclusion. Because this is all right Renekton's drive right now, right? So you'd either have to give him a new goal, which that could be fun, or conclude his story, which they never really do with champions.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It reminds me so much of fucking Sentinels in that like we have this thing we like and this thing we really don't like, and they're so intertwined that we just can never. It's like anytime we get to a champion that has really good lore but was also in the Sentinels event, we're like, God damn it!
It's true. It's really true, honestly. It's hard, too, because so much of what's gone on is so long ago. Like, in the bio, there's a bit where it talks about some battle that Renekton did good in. He wasn't expected to even survive, and he won. Which is, like, cool, but it's like, why waste the space, almost? I kind of feel like it. It's like, we don't know about the context of that battle. We're never going to hear about that fucking place again. Use some more space to tell us some other things that... You can just tell us he was a good general. That's all we really need. We don't need to,
That's
the
true.
details,
Yeah, it was a really long bio in the opening when I was like, we kind of already know all this. You're trying to lay the groundwork, but it's with stuff that I didn't even find it like worthy of putting in the summary of the bio. Whereas, I definitely think his connection to Nasus would be way more interesting.
For sure. Something that was like, you could replace that whole bit with just talking more about what that, like I said, what they were like when they were growing up, kind of what it was like immediately post Ascension. Like, was he always just fucking nuts? Was he, because I think the one thing I've liked about the Ascension stuff is how they portrayed how much it fucks with you on a mental level. Like, that Twilight of the Gods story was a really good example of that. And I just wish they would play with that even more and just get into that more. We get some of that with Renekton, I suppose, to be fair.
Yeah.
But,
Which I liked a lot.
Yeah. I don't have much else to say about the bio, though, to be honest.
Yeah, all right.
Speaking of which...
Oh,
Darkness
Short
Renews.
stories. I do have a summary for Darkness Renews. I can. Well, it's just really quick. I mean, it's just a
Yeah,
quick
go for it.
because the other short story is really long. This really is just like a kind of stream of consciousness kind of story where Renekton is trying to remember like who he was and where he's going. It seems like he's fresh out of the box in this story. He's kind of a shell of his former self. He doesn't look the same. Like he's a different color and he's hunched over and he's not looking great. He has a lot of open wounds and whatnot that are oozing sand. Because that's what he does now.
It's been a while, crocodile.
Oh, God.
So shut the fuck up.
Thank you.
Anyway, he makes his way back home and sees an old statue of himself and Nasus, which reminds him of his name and identity. And then he becomes the big bad crocodile we all know and love today.
Yeah.
And that's really it. It was fine. I didn't really feel like I got much from this. I think it's trying to show us like where Renekton was mentally after leaving the tomb, but I don't know. I felt like I kind of could have got that, if that makes sense.
I liked it.
Yeah,
I thought it
yeah.
like
I didn't think it was bad.
I thought it was like it gave a good kind of fractured view of Renekton, because I think the only other time we kind of get to see this at play is in the other Graham McNeil story that he wrote, and we're seeing it through someone else's eyes, just kind of seeing his own eyes drift in and out of focus, start talking gibberish and stuff. So I really liked kind of the seeing what's going on in his head while all this is going on, and kind of seeing firsthand the impact that all of, Zareth's whispering actually had on him, like trying to see him piece the pieces together and like not knowing what the pieces are, but knowing they're there somewhere.
Yeah, it does a good job of kind of really... It's interesting, the idea that Zareth's voice seems to kind of just be in his head at all times, even though Zareth's not actually talking to him. It's just at this point become something that runs in the background. And that was... I assume Zareth's not like... I could be wrong.
Still talking.
Yeah. He's getting on his cell.
I hope he's not. Like, if they said that there was a way that Zareth was still communicating with him, I think that would ruin
That'd
it
be
for me. Yeah. I think it's definitely better that he's still just... Zareth was talking so fucking much in there for so long that he can't get the voice out of his head. And he doesn't even remember that it's Zareth.
Yeah, he's just known as the Whisperer. It was pretty dark down there, to be fair. But you get that a lot. I mean,
would Zareth make it lighter? I mean, he's got the electricity power. Maybe he wouldn't have like the juice for it. I don't know.
I was gonna say maybe he also
had
dimmed,
no mana.
like
No mana.
yeah, we talk about like, your inner voice being the voice of your parent because, that was the voice we heard for like a decade. Imagine hearing one voice for countless centuries.
Oh my God, every time he tries to do anything, he just hears Zareth. Is that how you want to do it?
Interesting choice.
It's just what my parental judgmental.
It's fine. It's not what I would do. But
I was gonna say.
It's probably not a big deal.
It's not the way I would approach it, but it's probably normal.
Yeah.
I have a quote here about kind of the Zareth's voice. It said, like, he has taken refuge from its unforgiving light, this being the sun. But even here, squatting and weeping in this dripping cave, the Whisperer has found him. The shadow on the wall slithers around him, always muttering, always conspiring to feed his bitterness. He presses long, gnarled hands that end in vicious ebon talons to his temples, but he cannot shut his constant companion in the darkness out. He never could.
Yeah.
Also sounds like some real depression shit there too.
I like how you use your voice for that one AU kind of there. I don't remember which one was it. The cosmic ones.
That one.
Yeah. The one.
The cosmic.
Yeah, the
Beautiful,
cosmic
terrible
one.
things. Yeah, that's the line that always sticks out to me.
That was John's voice.
You haven't had one of those champions in a while.
Yeah, I know.
I know. I think did they change it too? Because I know all the AUs.
I think
were
so.
getting,
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a shame. We've lost it. But
we still get the voice.
I think it paints a really pitiful picture of him in the immediate aftermath of it, which I like. And frankly, now that you say it, I would really like it as playing with, like, what am I trying to say? I would really like if they kind of tried to tug on that, like, Zareth as almost a metaphor for depression or things like that. That string that you could maybe follow with this, because it's an interesting one to take with someone who seems so straightforward. He's just a big crocodile who fucks people up, but to kind of get into something a little heavier like that, I would think that'd be fun.
Be very Darius, the surface, you think you know what's going on, but not so much.
Yeah.
You think you know, but you have no idea. This is the real story. A true story? What was the show called? I don't remember.
Got me.
Real world.
And you know something?
Real world.
Something from your quote too I liked is some of the depictions of or descriptions of his physical form. Like he comes off sounding very like a really twisted, like physically twisted. Like the way it's so different from like a human anatomy, right? Like those gnarled hands. It's like talking about like his thoughts buzzing around in his like elongated skull, where it's like, yeah, he's not like. It really reinforces that like he's in this weird, twisted, fucked up form. You know?
Yeah, it's
and
like I feel like I never think of like the crocodile claws or anything like that. Like I never think of them as talons. Talons to me is way more curved. So even just them calling it talons feels like it makes his hands feel more gnarled than they would otherwise if they just said claws.
I'm thinking about in terms of the Ascended, you know, they become immortal, powerful beings, but like, what is it like to suddenly be an animal? They never talk about that. I feel like if I were suddenly in a crocodile's body, there would be some concerns. How do I wipe now?
Right. I've been moisturizing my whole life, and for what?
Can I still brush my teeth? Can I still make love?
Brushing your teeth takes 3 hours.
Right?
He would probably have slaves to do it. Let's be fair here.
I guess that's true. One per tooth. But I just like the being transformed into a entirely different body is very different than just having powers and being immortal now. I don't know.
Yeah, I that's why I like a lot about the Ascension. That's the part I like about the Ascension stuff is all of that, where you're taking a human mind and plugging it into this process that just like just fucks you up from every turn we've seen. It just completely messes them up. So I would love to see that, like what it feels like to be in that new body and like all the powers.
Do you miss your old body? Like I feel like I would. You don't feel like yourself anymore, I assume. But
yeah, that would be a tons of fun to play with for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's another line here, too, that said, his skin was as tough as armored bronze, but is now dull and cracked, dust spilling from his many wounds, like sand from an executioner's hourglass.
I was very confused by that one.
An executioner's what now? Like, is this something that all executioners are they the designated timekeepers for all Shuriman board games?
Oh, man.
I want to be the banker this time. No, fuck you. You know what you do.
You flip the hourglass, executioner.
Wait, banker? Like, is there like a time limit on Monopoly? I guess maybe ancient Shuriman.
Oh, yeah,
Monopoly.
we're mixing up a lot of board games here.
There is if you play like we play.
Hardcore.
It's like I've played a Monopoly since I was like 10 years old.
Yeah, you know, you've got the executioner, you've got the hourglass. Yeah, all
Free
those
parking.
Boardwalk.
It's everything you remember. Got the wheelbarrow, the Scottish Terrier, and the fucking guillotine.
You're just making up your own Kama Sutra now.
With Scottish Terriers?
This is making Monopoly sound way more interesting than it actually is. All right. Anyway, that was that short. That's his color story.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can rein in Graham McNeil, so the stories aren't super long, is be like, hey, this is a color story. It's got to be 2 pages.
It needs to have this champion in it. You can't just say their name at the end.
He just flips his desk over, throws all his papers.
This is bullshit.
I have all of these OCs. All right. Anyway. With Teeth is the next one, also by Graham McNeil.
Also by Graham
And this
McNeil.
one's not short.
This one's the long one. They're like, okay, Graham, we'll give you a little play area, but you've got to write this short color story. The bio, by the way, was by Anthony Reynolds Lene. I don't know if we said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, hold on. Sorry, got a crocodile in my throat. So
get out of there.
What is this following? This is following the. Oh shit! I didn't write it down. What are they
There
called?
were so many different like groups of people. Were they the
Sand
Saint. Oh God.
I have this written down
This is the one
actually
that's
in
like-
one of these lines.
I only wrote down a few
Hold
names.
on, I got this.
Sand Thrashers.
Sand Thrashers.
Yeah. So it's following the Sand Thrashers, they're like a group of like raiders who are operating in Shurima, and they have actually come to. I didn't write that down either. The city that's from Bloodlines. I didn't write a lot of stuff down because I assumed I'd remember it
It's
in my
okay.
notes.
There were so many names.
Veruca Salt. Vikara.
Yeah, Veruca Salt.
I think Vikara is the name of it. It's from Bloodlines. It's the one where at the end of that, Nasus and Zareth fought, and the place got pretty fucked up. So they're kind of in the ruins of it, and they've been kind of preying on people who are... Apparently there are caravans that are going to where Azir has sprung up, and so they've been kind of preying on them, and they all ride around on these... I didn't write this down either. Saurons?
Giant Sauron lizards.
That's pretty close. Oops, sorry, my light is fucked up. Saren, they're kind of like big crocodiles in the desert. And they've got
But
some
not
captives-
Renektons.
Not Renektons.
Not Renekton. Not to be confused with.
Yeah. I didn't picture them as crocodiles, but these are Legends of Runeterra cards, so we do get to see them, and they are just like big sand crocodiles. They've got some captives with them from some of their earlier stuff, and they're getting ready to go out on another one. And we're mostly following a guy called Raz Bloodmane. And they
Great
go to
name.
their... It is a good-ass name, I will say. They go to their
Yes.
remaining captives, and Raz pulls out specifically a guy called Orden Stilava. All right. Who is, I guess, a priest?
Yeah.
I don't know what, like...
Don't
maybe-
worry, you won't ever need to pronounce his name again. Don't worry, he's not
Spoiler.
coming back for any other story.
Because he got away scot-free and lived a life of piety. He's a priest. I don't know what that means. I assume he's like a sun priest, but what kind of happened is that he said he would lead this caravan to Azir and seems to have just been a complete dick and took total advantage of them and was just going to let them die. So the rest of the captives are totally fine with him being killed. So Raz takes them down to they've got a makeshift kind of arena where their leader, Sai Surtha, who is a Vestian, I think he's one of Renekton's
I think so.
boys. Yeah, because
They refer to him as the prey stalker, and like I don't know how much closer to pride stalker you can
Oh,
get.
you mean
than that.
Rengar? Renekton? What?
Yeah, Rengar.
Did I
Oh,
say?
you said he's one of Renekton boys. That's
Oh my
one of
god!
Rengar.
Oh fuck me! He's
No,
one
no,
of
no, it's okay.
Rengo's boys.
One of Rengo's.
Sorry. We're gonna be there in just a moment, folks. So you,
Yeah.
you have to
We'll talk
forgive
about
me.
this again.
And he wears a skull mask, which is one of Rengar's skins.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so
That
he's
makes
definitely
sense,
a Rengar Vestian. I don't remember what they are. And they need to feed their mounts. They feed them their captives normally. And so Sai Surtha is like, Raz, kill this guy, but first make it fun. So he gives Orden a knife and it's like, hey, you can get out if you can get out, I'll let you go. But you have to kind of fight for it, he doesn't say. And Orden doesn't know what he's doing. He's just playing with him. When all of a sudden, something's kind of going on at the edge of the camp, and one of their lookouts comes flying through the air, or at least half of him does, because he's been bitten in half. And as everyone's getting ready to deal with whatever this new thing is, they just kill Orden. Raz is just like, hey, my mount, whose name I don't have written down, eat him, which he does. And Renekton shows up, and Renekton is here looking for Nasus, and he's trying to get the information from Sai Surtha, who I don't think knows, but is kind of getting ready to fight Renekton. He's like asking him as they're both just getting into the arena, just like gearing up, ready to fight. Doesn't give him the info. They fight, and Sai Surtha actually he seems to essentially win the fight. He like cuts off Renekton's hand. He eventually stabs him right through the gut, through the spine. And then Renekton ults, and shit goes fucking wild. And he heals up all of his wounds, and he grows in size, and he just like picks up Sai Surtha just like a doll, and just eats his ass. And then he essentially makes Raz. Well,
You didn't have
okay,
to say it like that, Mark.
sorry. There's no.
I was gonna say rewind a little bit because he doesn't.
He eats him. He bites him. He doesn't. There's nothing sexual about it. I'm sorry. And then at that point,
He just tosses him to his own mount.
does he toss it up like
His
a piece of
mount eats him.
like an M&M that you throw up and you try and like
Ooh.
and he
Bounces
drops
off his
and
eye.
he's like, hold on. I used to be able to do this all the time.
I'm gonna get it.
It's worth mentioning that this dude's mount had 3 heads, unlike all the other ones, which just had 1 head. So it was a definite like he got thrown to his mount and then torn apart like a fucking like Cerberus eating some shit.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And yeah, at that point, Raz gets named the new Prey. I almost said Pride Stalker. The new Prey Stalker. He's the leader. Renekton doesn't even really seem to give a shit. He's like, whatever. You can be the Prey Stalker. I don't care. But do you know where Nasus is? I'm genuinely asking. And one of the captives...
He just wanted to know where Nasus was this whole time.
It's just a real simple question, and the guy was a real dick about it.
I kind of like that, frankly. That Renekton's like, look, I just want to know. I didn't want to kill you, but I will fuck you up. And then one of the captives that Raz had let go earlier, she seemed to be like she had experienced fighting. She was tough. You know, they might induct her into their group. Seems to have heard like, oh, there's a library underwater off the cliffs of wherever, and that might be where Nasus is going. So that's probably where Renekton's going, and that's mostly it. Raz is leading the Sand Thrashers now, and Renekton's off to find Nasus.
Yeah, I like this one.
Yeah,
this was like a good combination of kind of action while also giving us enough about the character. It's kind of it's the rare Graham McNeil piece that doesn't star the champion that it's about, but does include enough of the champion that I feel like it's still a Renekton story.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like also having their leader be, you know, a Rengar type Vestayan also kind of helped contextualize a lot of the moves he was doing, because I was imagining Rengar doing the fighting the whole time. Because a lot of the time when they like when they describe any action involving Vestaya and they're not super clear, or it's not a Vestaya that like there's a champion about, sometimes I have a hard time imagining it.
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
Well, sometimes with the Vestayans that they don't really describe what kind of animal they are. Even they'll give like one thing, like, oh, his feathers rustled, and like, okay, I guess he's got feathers. I don't know what the fuck I'm picturing.
Yeah.
But he gets a few lines kind of really describing him. Again, in that Graham McNeil way, it's a very vivid picture of the whole scene from end to end, which I really liked. You know, you really can picture a lot of what's happening. The action is, I think, really well described. I can just like from the start to the end, I can beautifully picture what is happening in this story. And I really liked that. You know, I really enjoyed the way he kind of crafted it all, you know?
It was cool, yeah. I liked it a lot. I thought it was funny when it started. It said, a reaver band of bloodthirsty warriors mounted on giant Sauron lizards. They terrorized the dust roads of the Sai Khalik for coin. Guys, there has to be a safer place to terrorize people. We just read about the Sai Khalik. You don't want to fucking be there. Don't go there.
Who knows?
Anywhere else.
Who knows what a dust road is, right? Maybe that's like the safe path through or around. I don't fucking know.
Turns out there was a safe path this whole time.
fucking time.
It's really dusty, and if your allergies, you know, you just can't do it. It's like, sorry, guys.
There was one guide, the head guide decades ago had allergies, so took everyone away from the dusty path, and nobody knew that was why. So everyone has just assumed that it's more dangerous.
It's reminding me of Lysandra having the elevator.
Right.
The whole time. It was this other way.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, this was great. It really made me feel like Ascended are bullshit. Like, how is anyone supposed to defeat them? I guess you're not. Except for Cassante's people, they somehow did it. No description why or how, but
they hunted
they fought
those
Ascended,
monsters.
Right? Yeah,
it
that's
says
true.
they fought them off, but it's like, I mean, it's really a neat little turn to have Sai Surtha be so effective, and again, when you've got these really vivid descriptions of how he's like unhinging the Renekton's jaw or like cutting through it, and he cuts off one of his hands. You're like, wow, he really fucked him up. And then Renekton just presses R.
Yeah, it's really like, it's feeling like the current League meta, right? He had built Jack Shove, so we're all fucked.
God, that healing. Yeah, yeah. You're not wrong, honestly. Oh, man.
But does that mean Rengar is like a weak little bitch? I guess we'll know next week. Like, or is Rengar like a special Vestayan? Because champions are usually like the special version of whatever it is, right?
I mean, he was already kind of an outcast for being a little bitch, right?
Maybe. Like he was like a runt. I know he's an outcast in exile, but I don't know if he was a runt or what.
Oh, he's the little runt in the kitten litter. That's so cute. I can't wait to get to Renekton.
There's gonna be some good art, I'm sure. But
Oh yeah.
the Sai Surtha guy comes off really, like, at one point early on they've got a big bonfire going and he just gets like a big timber from like one of the collapsed buildings and throws it on. Like, they really build this guy up, and he's got these like relic weapons, and it's like it really reinforces, like, man, dealing with Ascended. It makes me again think of another McNeil story, that Where Acathia Once Stood, where it's like, oh man, you can see why people would just not even try and deal with these guys. It's nuts, frankly.
Yeah.
Or get the Void involved, because
exactly.
It makes sense.
Yeah. And something you had mentioned earlier, John, too, is that like Renekton here he's kind of lucid sometimes, but there are definitely times where he is not. I think at one point when he's really beaten down during that fight, he starts calling out to Nasus, almost kind of like that Nasus story where he's calling out to Renekton a little, where he's like, he's too strong, Nasus, I gotta do it. I had to do it to him, and it's like, sometimes... But I like
he had
that.
a couple of he had a real Gollum moment. He's like, no one listens to Renekton.
Yeah.
no one ever listens.
He knows where my precious is.
That's where Nasus is.
Oh, man.
So like there was a line here. So this was right after one of their lookouts got bit in half. And then Renekton walks in, and pretty much everyone actually immediately recognizes him, even before he ults. Because, like, it's Shurima. There's pictures of this dude fucking on every cave wall. And yeah, exactly. In fact, there was a statue in this city.
Yeah.
So, like, everyone immediately recognizes him, and most of them kneel. But the guy we're following, Bloodmane, doesn't. It says, submission is for the weak. Respect is only ever earned in blood. And, like... My dude, he just bit a dude in half. Is that not enough fucking blood?
And then
like, what are you looking for?
He ate half a Taco Bell burrito and was like, ugh, and just
Right.
threw it out the window.
It wasn't the Taco Bell cantina. That was
It's not a strip club,
players reference.
but it's close. Yeah.
I also liked when Renekton did ult, it had like that energy of when you're fighting a boss in a video game and you beat it and then it gets a second health bar.
It's real Dark Souls shit, right?
Yeah.
Oh no.
I'm trying to grind through all my Hades wins, so I'm feeling that a lot. Let me fucking tell you.
Oh no.
Yeah, but even like to what you're saying about Raz is that like when Renekton ults, he absolutely drops down in supplication.
Yeah. He was like, oh nope.
Yeah.
Yep.
I made a mistake. This got big.
Like the way they describe it is like his being just like demanded like deference or whatever. I don't remember the exact wording, but just like you couldn't not like just give it up to this guy, like whatever it may be,
And they had after he did ult kind of, and the head dude immediately realized, like, all right, well, I'm fucked. Like, Renekton has this moment where he says, little mortal, said Renekton, his voice echoing from the shattered walls of the city, I am an ascended being. I have crushed armies, torn down cities, sealed the gates, and set them to flame. I laid waste to the world uncounted ages ago, and you thought to stand against me? With a dismissive flick of his wrist, Renekton tossed the body of Sai Surtha toward Makara, who's his three-headed mount. The great Saren's heads came up and their jaws snapped shut. Like, what a fucking power play.
Right. Man. Fucking cool. This might be one of the best depictions of an ult in terms of like the raw power that comes with it compared to most things we've read. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was thinking that when I was getting a little bored of the idea of a fight scene, because I was like, obviously he's fighting Renekton. Renekton's not going to lose. He's a champion. We know how this is going to end. These are like not my favorite fight scenes to read. And then he's like losing the fight pretty hard, and I was like, oh, interesting. And then there was a moment where I was like, oh wait, how does Renekton's ult work? He's got that bar underneath of him, right? The Fury. So it was interesting to kind of know where the story was going based on the gameplay. That's always really fun when they can incorporate that in a way that's believable, and it like fit really well here.
They even
especially good timing too, because I feel like there was recently an LCK highlight play where That dude got tower dived 2v1 as Renekton and real easy double kill.
I'll have to check it out. You know, even his like basic abilities get a lot of play here. Like he hits him with the stun, which is like a 3-hit combo. And I think when he's got his rage meter up, it's been a minute since I played Renekton. He hits an additional hit. And they even have him do that, like he hits a 4-hit combo later on. And he's doing his little slice and dice. Like this is like a really, you know what this is? This is like a color story, but like given like the star treatment. Like, hey, we're gonna show all the abilities and shit, but like, you know, like I'm liking it.
Razzle dazzle,
razzle dazzle, razzmatazz. I actually did end up liking Raz. Even I found him kind of interesting. Which I don't think we're ever going to see him again or anything like that. But this whole group was more interesting than I was expecting. I have trouble sometimes getting into a story when it's suddenly from a point of view of somebody that we don't know. We've never seen them before in our lives. They're not connected to anybody. But I did end up enjoying reading from his point of view. And there's really no like heroes here in this story. And that's always really interesting too.
Yeah, they're Raz is fun. It is interesting that he is a Legends Rune Tarot card. He's a named card. That lady who he's kind of bantering with at the start, I'm pretty sure is another one.
Nice.
I thought that was interesting because back in the bio, we didn't really get into it, but it mentions kind of at the end that Renekton's kind of there's some followers who have kind of started kind of accruing around him.
Oh yeah,
which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah, same.
And this seemed like a really neat way of showing how that could kind of happen. Where it's like they respect strength and shit, and he obviously showcased it. So even though he doesn't really give a fuck, they're like a bunch of like groupies following him around almost, is the way I kind of thought it might be.
Right? It's probably the safest place to be in fucking Shrink. If you're going to be in the Cycleek, you want to be following Renekton around.
Sure.
Because if some shit goes down...
Who you want on your fucking side. You know what I also thought was interesting about it is that we were recently talking about this sort of weird mirroring of the Freljord and Shurima. And I thought the Renekton and these folks made me think a little bit of like the Winter's Claw, kind of like a Sejuani analog.
Yeah.
This group of raiders and stuff. It'd be interesting if Riot tugged on those strings some more. I don't think they will, but...
Yeah.
But I liked it.
And Talia's trying to gather the other folks for peace.
Yeah, sure. And I don't know who Azir is. Maybe he's like a Lysandra type. I don't fucking know.
Right.
Thinks he's the hero, but...
No one cares. Oh, I like the idea that Azir is Lysandra.
There's something there. There's something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the only other thing about this,
right.
Real quick, was just some of the depictions of Vikara. I don't know, the city. The aftermath were pretty interesting too. Where it talks about how like there are silhouettes that are just like burnt onto the wall, like an atom bomb went off and like the silhouettes were just like onto the wall and shit's just like been melted to glass. When Renekton bleeds, the sand melts to glass too, which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah,
but it's cool. The place, they really fucked that place up in Bloodlines.
Blooded.
That sounds like the title of an emo song.
When I bleed, the sand turn to glass. 'Cause I'm hot-blooded for you.
Ooh, okay, now we're getting into Foreigner or something like that. I don't know.
'Cause I'm hot-blooded.
Oh my
there it is.
God. Your emo voice is too realistic and it's making me want to die. So
The mission
we're gonna move on.
What are we moving on to?
Yeah. So, I mean, we don't really need to get into Bloodline since this is kind of a Nasus story. Renekton's just mentioned in this story by everyone else. Fucking Nasus, Xerath, Sivir. Everyone's talking about him. But the main takeaway is that Nasus views Renekton much the same way that Vi views Jinx. As someone who's gone mad but can be saved.
That's true. That's another good comparison.
I would say I think Renekton has more of a chance of being safe than Jinx.
Damn, you think so? I'm open
I
to
think
it.
Jinx has made a decision to be where she is now, whereas Renekton hasn't made his choice yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's very true. That's a good catch. That's a good comparison.
You aren't complete idiots. Oh my god.
Thanks. Now, he's also mentioned in a shit ton of stories. So where Akathia once stood, he was likely in that fight. Water and Shade to You, we find out that Renekton's host took Xerath from Neramazeth. but he was born in Saikal.
Got it.
Yeah. The Magus Ascendant is just like, we just get the whole making Renekton insane thing from Xerath's point of view. Emperor of the Sands, we find out that Azir trained under both Renekton and Nasus. Curator of the Sands, we finally learn specifically what one of Renekton's atrocities actually was.
The Eater of the
library
Sands.
thing?
Oh. Yeah, Renekton raised the Grand Library and killed everyone who tried to stop him. The Battle Mistress, Sivir accidentally does an oopsie freeing Renekton and Xerath by accidentally giving her boomerang to Cassiopeia after Cassiopeia stabbed her.
We've all been there, Sivir. It's fine.
Kalik, the story ends near the Great River of Renek at the end. And finally, Ouroboros, Nasus hallucinates his human brother with him for the first half of the story, and then, boom, twist. It's revealed that after Zarathgoon's attacks, that the whole thing was just Nasus, all in Nasus's head.
I thought they had figured it out. And then he and Renekton were besties again.
And his brother was a child again.
Yeah. Who's reborn.
Now, y'all want to hear some fucking old lore?
I really genuinely do.
I read the
I'm
old
very
lore. I would
curious.
love to talk about the old lore.
You ready to talk about the old lore?
Were his
I
nudes
would love
leaked? What
to.
happened? Check out these scales.
There's a bunch of confused guys like trying to figure
What the hell is that? Is that his tail or?
Do you want to do bio or judgment then?
I want to talk about the judgment mostly because
Okay.
it was really there's something
That's
about it
pretty
that's really funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
All right, so we'll start with the bio. So instead of all the Xerath stuff, basically what Renekton did
Thank God.
was guard the library that his brother took care of. And then if he sensed evil in somebody's heart who came to the library, he would turn them away.
Now, John, where is that library?
Did it have a special name
Well,
for the place?
is it on Runeterra?
Oh no, this is on a different plane of existence entirely. This is back in the day when the summoners were just fucking pulling people from different realms.
Okay.
So this was a different realm entirely.
Did he sniff them out? Did he sniffed out their intentions in their heart?
He did. And then
really? Like a doggy?
like a doggy. And then unfortunately, after sniffing so much darkness, he started to go mad himself. And then when bad people came, instead of turning them away, he would cut the darkness out, which is code for just murdering them.
I'm sniffing the darkness.
But that would but that wouldn't sate the rage for long. He'd just get mad afterwards too. So finally, consumed by his anger, Renekton turned on the one being who could defeat him, his own brother. Nasus pleaded with Renekton to see reason, and then realizing that he was beyond redemption, the despondent Nasus valiantly struck down his wayward sibling. Defenseless, Renekton waited eagerly for death's release. It never came. He was spared when summoners from the League of Legends claimed his brother. Caught in the wake of this powerful spell, Renekton tumbled for what seemed like ages between realities. When he finally emerged, he fell deep into the sewers of Zaun. Insane.
How did you get there, man? How did you get there?
Insane with fury, Renekton languished in his newfound home, driven senseless by his rage. That is, until by happenstance he caught a familiar scent in the air. Believing that the familiar scent would guide him to the solace that was fading from his memory, he traced his brother to the Institute of War.
The League of Legends.
The League of Legends. That was just the smell of the sewer, Renekton.
Right?
I was gonna say, is this an alligators in New York City sewer reference?
I think it is.
I love that. I didn't think about that. Well, now that's great. Now the old lore is
Primo.
Sometimes they nail it. Man,
Despite their best efforts.
right?
That's wild. Well, that's certainly an improvement now.
Man, I do love the whole. We'll talk. I guess we'll do Journal of Justice a little bit too, when we'll talk more about the whole being from another fucking world thing. It's fucking hilarious to me. So he's got a judgment. He's one of those ones that has a judgment. Do we want to hear about the judgment?
I would love to hear about the judgment.
So this is one of those judgments where normally the judgments, right, are like, oh, we go into your memories and we suss out what happens. We make you confront your darkest fears. But this is one of those ones that breaks the rules. So Renekton just barges into the Institute of War, sniffing around for Nasus, just keeps sniffing around, and eventually plops out into Summoner's Rift. And you might wonder, well, Summoners are like super powerful fuck-off mages. How is it that Renekton got in? Well, don't worry, because what it's revealed here is that when they summoned Nasus, they wanted Renekton, actually. Nasus was an accident. Renekton's been tumbling around in Zaun for a little while, but here he is now. So he's
How
on
did
Summoner's
they fuck
Rift.
that up?
They're, you know what?
Junior summoner.
Oopsie, right? Lee Sin tried to summon him. It's just,
Right.
thank God he didn't kill another child.
Right? We're lucky we didn't get like a half jackal, half crocodile.
Right. So he's on Summoner's Rift. He goes, I guess, top, we must assume. And there's Nasus farming fucking minions with his E. And Renekton starts fighting him. And Nasus flashes away and is a little like, oh, what the fuck's going on? And Renekton's about to kill him. But then Nasus uses... The wiki links it as teleport. It must have been because he
I
couldn't
feel
have
like he
recalled.
just died and then respawned at the tower.
That's another thing. He could have just killed him and then he respawns at the tower. But regardless, Nasus gets away. He's back at the fountain. And Renekton's like, doesn't really know what's happening, but he just barges ahead. Barges through 3 weirdos who show up to try and stop him, which are a buxom pirate lass, a big old minotaur, and a big old armadillo. I don't know how we missed this shit from the Rammus episode, but he just
Right?
bowls right through
Wasn't
him.
linked anywhere.
He bowls right through him. He goes to go kill Nasus on the fountain, and then the fountain laser gives him. So he's dead. But he's back alive. I don't know, Summoner's Rift bullshit. I'll give you a moment to recover. And then
This is the most we've seen of like a Summoner's Rift come into
Right?
play.
It's really funny. He's captured. The league's got him. That's the end of it. They've got who they want. But it's fucking hilarious for a couple of reasons. The first is that when you read it on the wiki, like any sane person does, they have articles about like Flash and like, you know, the lanes and shit. So whenever it mentions like, ooh, Nasus disappeared in a flash, it's got a little hyperlink to the Flash page or like the lanes or the jungle. It's fucking great. They're littered throughout. The other thing I loved about this, okay, so this is about 1,000 words. I asked Sarah this question: how many semicolons do you think are appropriate for 1,000 words?
Oh wow. One.
I'm going to be straight honest with y'all.
One.
None. You never need a semicolon.
a
Don't fucking listen
no,
to
no,
anyone
no.
who tells you that you need a semicolon.
I guess I'm not the writer here.
So you would say that 18 is maybe a little much?
I see. There's this author who's kind of a little bit known for using M dashes, and this booktuber I love, My Name is Marinez, she would count how many M dashes were in it. Wild. Buck wild. They like just figured out the rules of the semicolon that day.
Or
and
maybe
were
they
like-
didn't.
I was gonna say, I
thought
feel
Were
like
they did.
Were they
didn't.
properly used?
Oh,
No?
Right? It reminds me of that Lonely Island song about semicolon.
Well, this is not something I would complain about normally, but I was reading it, and there were twice at least. There's also 17 colons. So I don't know what was like the period key was
That's
not working.
a lot.
It's a fucking lot.
It's just one sentence, the whole thing.
There are 2 paragraphs that are a single run-on sentence comprised of 2 semicolons and a colon to get us from the start to the finish. It's fucking great.
Oh my God,
There's one bit
that's
where there's
really
a bit of
funny.
dialogue, and there's like Nasus speaks, colon, and then the dialogue begins. It's like, I don't know, like I said, maybe the period key wasn't working. I don't know what was going on, but fucking great. if you're bugged by
man.
semicolons, you'll love this shit.
That's great. Well, now I'm worried to give you the new draft of my next novel.
I'm going
in
to
2
cross
weeks,
off all
Sean.
the semicolons.
I think there's at
Pretentious.
least 2.
Pretentious.
There's like only a couple.
You
in
can
the
use
whole
them.
thing.
There were some in those other stories we read, and they were perfectly fine. But they shouldn't be used in place of like, my man, just use some periods or whoever.
Or
I don't
commas.
know. Or commas.
Or
Yeah,
whatever.
feel like I do. Write long run-on sentence paragraphs that are all commas. Right? That's what I do. But still.
Yeah. Tips from pros.
Yep. But yeah, fucking great.
That's so great. Renekton just barges into a league game. Gets killed by the fountain.
Yeah, doesn't stay behind his minions.
Doesn't
is the thing.
He just passed all the turrets, I guess.
Yeah, I just fucking ran past them.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Maybe it was really late game. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
In that case, NASA should have been able to one-shot.
It's just so funny to me how much they tried to fit, like, all of these characters have joined this league together.
Yeah.
And his abilities, like they call out his spirit fire specifically, and
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is really funny, and I think that's what I'll bitch about with the Journal of Justice too, is that like how much they have to stretch to like just get it all to work with the game, and just it all needs to fit. Smartest decision they ever made to stop doing that.
So, speaking of which, he shows up in a few Mailbag of Justice. Starting with issue 8. As we know, there are some champions that their land of origin is unknown. For example, Tarek and Nasus. Since my duties as a scholar direct so, and the head librarian gets on my nerves by his constant questioning, could either of them be so kind as to tell we summoners a couple of things about their home world? This is a player, role playing, writing in and do a little role playing. So they have the whole bit about Tarek, and then it said, Nasus is tight-lipped about his land of origin. While it's known that he was once caretaker of a great library, all you'll get out of him are grumblings about how his brother Renekton will never let go of their grudges, no matter how many worlds stand between them. Pair that with a few riddles about the cycle of life and death, and that's about all you'll hear from the curator of the sands before he's brooding again.
So they didn't know where he was from.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm trying to think of like a good anagram of caretaker now, because he's from wherever that is.
Oh, take care.
He's from Take Carer, the Great Realm.
He's from Brylary. Man.
He's from Susan.
LeJack. Now he shows up again in issue 18. My query is to the selectors of the worlds. Where can I summon my champions from? Just wondering if there might be a way to affect the decisions made about future worlds that become available to draw upon, and the type of people we can use. They say the recent arrival of Renekton has opened the door for many questions like this, but I'd like to remind everyone that the League has strictly prohibited summoning from other worlds. When the art of summoning was young, those mages powerful enough to practice it summoned beings from distant places without their consent, often to serve against their will. Since that time, we've grown, and most forms of magic as potent as summoning are illegal outside of controlled environment of the League of Legends. This is essential to preserving Runeterra. Beyond that, summoning creatures or people from other places or against their will is expressly forbidden. Except in some very special circumstances approved by the League.
I do not understand, because this is something we continuously run into in the Mailbag of Justice, and I don't know why they decided this was going to be something that's like important. That the Institute of War, on the surface, says they don't summon people from other places, but then does. Like, they're a cabal of super powerful wizards. They run the fucking world. Can't they just be like, hey, we just wanted to see what would happen if a little girl fought a crocodile? And it turns out the crocodile wins. I don't know.
This is just like the real life version of like that YouTube channel, like where they just pit two random people against each other.
I'm not familiar with that.
Or just the Deadliest Warriors, even.
Sure, right?
TV show.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't like Animal Planet have like a show where they were like, who would win?
Ninjas or samurai?
Man.
Or it was like a
Genghis
crocodile or a
Khan.
megalodon. And then they like do a simulation.
I believe it.
Where they have this spreadsheet. That's my favorite part, where they'd show the Excel
you like
spreadsheet.
You like that Excel
that determined who
spreadsheet.
won. Fuck yeah. But yeah, that's all I had for the old lore.
And that's it.
All right.
Now he is in a few cinematics. Starting with Empires of the Ascended. which is, I think, the Legend of Runeterra for the big Shurima release. Basically, a Tomb Raider is making off with a relic and starts getting chased.
Lara?
It is Lara. Madam Croft? Is that you? So he gets chased probably by one of the Sand Thrashers, if I had to guess. He's riding one of the Saurons they described. After he shakes him, Renekton starts chasing him. So he drops a massive pillar of rock almost on him, and it opens a hole in the ground that he falls
Viego?
into.
Got him.
So yeah, the dude falls into the hole, and Nasus is there. And Nasus is like, ooh, neat, what's this? And touches the relic, and then Renekton drops down the hole, and Nasus and Renekton fight each other for a bit. And the guy gets away and then gives the relic to Azir.
Great.
Yeah.
It's a star-studded cinematic.
Everyone showed up. Yeah.
And then Oprah walked in.
And everybody applauded.
Yeah.
That man,
And her name was Albert
Einstein.
All right, anyway, what other cinematic?
So he's also in Road to the Cup, the 2013 World Cinematic. This was a Studio Mir cinematic where pro players are their favorite champs. And he's not in the video itself, but after the video, there's kind of a static image of a few more players as their champions, and he's there in that
Great.
image. Yeah, he's in the closing card.
Great.
So,
Fuck yeah.
and then Warriors, the 2014 World Cinematic, Renekton and Nasus are one of the pairs fighting in the clouds during the wailing guitar solo in the middle.
Cool. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. And then finally, Descent into the Tomb, which just tells the story we've heard now from 5 points of view about Renekton and Nasus.
Now, what happened with them again?
So there's this thing with this crypt, right?
No.
Not to be confused with a sarcophagus. Don't think that, idiot.
Who fucking would? No one.
And then he shows up in one comic, Fall of the Empires, which tells the story we heard now from 6 points of view about Renekton and Nasus.
I really wanted
I was
you
like,
to
you had
know
me
this
thrown
story.
for a second. Like, comic? What? Did I really miss? Oh, it's that one. There's like 3
Yeah,
images. I don't know. Is it even a comic? I guess arguably. I don't know.
We're going to get the comic artists that come at us like the poets come at us now.
That's fair. That's a fair point. Let's not invite their wrath on top of everything else.
All right, the AUs.
Yes.
I got the skids up, baby.
All right. First of all, we got Galactic.
Ooh.
The War of the Broken Moon has ravaged our galaxy for near 100 cycles, and still there's no end in sight.
Oh, no.
And this is Galactic
there he
Renekton,
is.
which has no lore.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
good.
So,
okay.
but he's there.
Cool.
Yeah, along with this headless...
NASA statue.
the hell is that?
The headless NASA statue.
I don't like it. Put a head on him, please.
Is that the one where he's like standing on like the his Captain Morganing on it? Or am I thinking of something else?
Oh, that's where the head is. It's under his foot.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like very light gray. Okay.
Next, we got Ages of Runeterra. Glimpses of selves in other lives. Clashes of fate in another era. Runeterra is a world rich in possibility, as its legends find new destinations and destinies. So this encompasses 9 skin lines: Bilgewater, Burning Tides, Bilgewater Mercs, Chronicle, Curse of the Void, Freljord, Other Roads, Ruination, and Traditional. This one is Other Roads with Rune Wars Renekton, which has no lore.
He's an old champion.
Yeah,
He has
yeah.
a lot of skins.
Don't worry, this next one has lore. So this is Wonders of the World. Individuals hailing from a far-flung universe of Earth, where giant statues come to life and everyone is wearing a fun hat. It's a lot like Runeterra if you think about it. And this is Outback Renekton. Crikey, what a ripper!
A+. Nah. Oh man.
Oh, no.
So this next one.
Are they all like this?
No. Some
I
of them.
hope so.
Some of them have. This next one is Bloodstone. Set in a world of the Bloodstone. Each champion is a Bloodstone cultist.
I remember loving this shit.
And this is Bloodstone Renekton. This blood-crazed killing machine.
I'm gonna pee my pants.
Scour.
This one. Sorry, go ahead.
This blood-crazed killing machine scours the battlefield to sate the Bloodstone. The more he slays, the more he fuels his powers. This, in turn, feeds his frenzy, creating a never-ending cycle of split viscera and gore.
Bloodstone.
Bloodstone!
Blood
should
Fury
end with that.
Renekton.
Fuck!
Anyway.
So, fun fact about this one, if you stand in a brush with this one, sometimes his tongue will remain opaque while the rest of his body becomes translucent.
Oh my god, I fucking
I
forgot.
had never. I gotta see that now, but no one uses the skin.
Floating tongue. Next up, we got Infernal.
Renekton, but he's on fire.
Renekton on fire, baby! Scorching an entire world takes unimaginable strength, which is why the Ashen Lord called upon his legions of Infernals to lend their flames. From the darkest depths, they each bring their own terrible powers to bear, though not all answer their call with the same burning enthusiasm.
I like how they tried to give him an earring, but they were like, where's his ear? I don't know. Here, I guess.
It's just in his neck. You didn't have to give him an earring. Oh god, our mic fell.
Oh shit.
You didn't have to give him an earring, right? Or if you're gonna just give him an ear, don't just.
That's fucking. That is choice right there. That's fucking great. I never fucking noticed that before. I have looked at that skin so many fucking times.
I didn't. At first, I was really distracted by the amount of saliva that it was in his mouth, and it was grossing me out. And then I looked a little to the left. I was
What's
like,
that?
why does he have hoops? Shit. Okay, anyway.
All right. Whew. This one is Scorched Earth Renekton.
Earring Renekton.
What? All right, we're good. We're good.
Yeah,
We're good. What is an infernal but the screams beckoning from the darkest corners of mortal imagination? For centuries, they were considered nothing more than myth, and yet now, monstrosities such as Renekton roam freely, pushing us all for the last fleeting grasp of our own hubris. It's intense.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Sun-Kissed Summer. It's summer, baby! The sun's out, the breeze is warm, and the water's cool. Everybody's leaving their rivalries and grudges at home and bringing only swimsuits and good vibes. There'll be plenty of time for punching and yelling later. Just sit back, enjoy the music, and soak up the fun. This one's Pool Party Renekton. Lifeguard on duty. Seriously, though, be careful. You don't want CPR from a 9-foot crocodile, man.
This is one of the first pool party skins, isn't it?
I think so.
I think so,
the
yeah.
first
First
wave
line, yeah.
of it.
First wave.
I never zoomed in on the diving board. Like, look at that Lulu.
Looks good.
Just really zoom in on the I guess Lulu on the diving board, and
I'm looking at it now. Like a.
You gotta look real close.
Right? It's like a purple
So-
speck.
I'm on my phone, so you can really get in there.
Fun little
Like a
bit about.
toad. I hate it.
She does.
Sorry, go ahead.
Fun little bit about the skin. When you recall using this skin, he actually jumps on the diving board, and the animation doesn't perfectly line up with the back time. So if you're standing next to a brush, you can do the backing animation, and it'll finish. He'll dive into the water, and then you can walk into the brush, and it'll look like you finished your bag.
Oh, neat.
So,
Hey,
little fun
Renekton
fact out there for
mates.
Renekton players. All right, we got prehistoric. Gargantuan monsters roam our land, stalking their prey with frightening precision. Humans would surely become their next meals, if not for the hunters. Armed with blades crafted from the bones of their first kills, with instincts that rival the most fearsome of beasts, the hunters protect their people each day from a grisly fate. This one is prehistoric Renekton. A rare, intelligent beast, Renekton is an erudite speaker and skilled wielder of the crescent blade. He's also 6 stories tall and not particularly friendly. Hunters are advised to make their final arrangements before engaging.
I'm trying to picture erudite Renekton. That's a weird word to use for him.
Right?
Renekton read many books.
You made him even dumber. Well, I guess he's prehistoric. The fact that he's even got books is pretty good.
My library smells of rich mahogany. Then we got Toy Box. Nar's toy chest is brimming with priceless treasures, but when no one's home, his toys take on a life of their own. This is Renektoy. First produced in 1996, Renektoy quickly and unexpectedly became the must-have gift of the season. Shortages and heightened demand led to online scalping, parents fist-fighting in store aisles, and a small number of what police later described as mall stampedes. Fun fact about this one. Moo Cow Alistar, Super Kennen, Pugma, and Renektoy, the shared splash art between the 4 of them, represent the dog chasing scene from Toy Story.
Yeah.
And in this situation, Renektoy would probably be Buzz due to his lore.
Mm-hmm.
So who's Woody? Is it Alistar, I bet? Because he's old and shit. And then
probably.
Woody's a cowboy? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a cowman.
And then Super Kennen's just the Rocket in this. Next up, we got Black Frost. The Ice Witch let none slumber. Each fallen friend and foe in her domain rises anew to fight by her side. Her dark magic twists their appearance, creating glacial golems with hearts of black, unmelting ice. This one is Black Frost Renekton. In life, Renekton stood against the tyranny of the Ice Witch, fighting an inevitable, endless winter until his last breath. In death, the virtuous warrior was cursed with resurrection, brought back to life as a vicious warmonger cased in rock and ice. Now a general leading the onslaught of the Black Frost army, Renekton loyally serves the very queen he once thought to destroy.
It's weird to me, the idea that Renekton would fight against Lysandra so hard. I don't know. Whatever. I guess it's because
Hey, he's loyal.
Yes, but
He's a good guy. Sure, there's a few battlefield atrocities, but...
yeah, who hasn't, really, right?
Next up, we got Project. Among the megastructures and packed streets of a future controlled by global corporations, a shadow war rages between rebellious augmented humans and newly empowered artificial beings. The winners will shape the course of history, and the losers will be forced to evolve. This one is Project Renekton. A hybridized warrior taking inspiration from extinct fauna, Renekton is the perfect version of Project's crossbreed superweapon project. Released to aid the city in its fight against the program virus, Renekton's seemingly endless rage is useful for now, though his belief that he can see beyond the soul is increasingly disconcerting.
All right.
And finally, last up, we got Hextech. Now, at the forefront of science and art, Hextech has evolved from its rudimentary beginnings into a modern renaissance of intricate artificial life forms capable of free will. Skilled artificers lead the medium into a bold new future. But what it will bring, none can say. This one is Hextech Renekton. As is so often the way, artificers of the Hextech Renaissance pushed too far and too fast into their new science without fully considering the possible consequences. Renekton, a half-mad monster of flesh and metal, is the result of that short-sightedness. And fun fact about this, Hextech skins are mostly for old champions. Pretty much all champions with Hextech skins so far were released in either 2009 or 2010. And Renekton is the only exception to this, as he was released in 2011.
Interesting. Do you think that's because so many of his skins are like Rune Wars and Infernal? Or they're all kind of like, they're not very different. You know what I mean? They're not shaking it up a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Only his like comical ones are really different looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wondered.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Got a handful of fun facts here. Y'all want them? You hungry for some fun facts?
I'm raging for fun facts.
Nice. Renekton, voiced by Patrick Seitz, who also voices Kog'Maw and pre-voice update Lucian.
Also, Garrosh Hellscream in
Oh, okay.
someone else who
In
did.
the game or the movie?
I think the game. Pretty sure.
The game
Okay.
of what game?
World.
Warcraft.
Oh, Warcraft.
Yeah. I think World specifically. So I think only in WoW,
okay.
but I don't know.
Renekton's title used to be the Eater of Souls, but that was changed to the current one after the sneak peek was released of him.
He's not really eating any souls anymore.
Not eating a lot of souls. Not really his thing. Renekton is around 3,796 years old.
And less than 3,900 years old, yeah.
Yes. Okay. I was like trying to do I don't know what. My brain just fucking shut off for a second. And I thought that 3,900 was a smaller number than the first number I said. I was like, how is it over that first one, but under that second one? It doesn't make sense.
It's been a long episode. It's okay.
Yeah.
Over 3,796, but under 3,900
The
years old.
3796 is so very specific.
Right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. All right, anyway.
He's bigger than this many.
He held up 10 fingers for the listeners there.
Renek was one of the nations that belonged to the ancient Shuriman Empire and was possibly located somewhere near the Renek River, and the siblings may have originated from here, and Renekton may be named after it. Conjecture.
It's a lot of maybes.
A lot of maybes. But, you know, it could have.
Tracks. Follows.
Renekton is having a big struggle of trying to regain his sanity, but constantly slipping back and forth between lucidity and utter madness. But his humanity is still in there, just somewhere deep down, and maybe he could come back, but only with the right motivation.
This is an interesting fun fact.
Only with
Is this
true
in, like,
love's
a Reddit
kiss.
post or something?
Yeah, I know, right?
Shrek, we need you.
Hard to kiss with no lip.
He managed to get earrings in with no ears, so.
In Legends of Runeterra, he is specifically clarifies himself as a crocodile in case there's ever any sort of crocodile-alligator debate.
Very good.
Renekton's art spotlight is the only one to not show his classic skin. It shows his outback skin instead.
Sure.
Oh.
Because why not? And then Renekton and Nasus are one of only 7 pairs of sibling champions. The others being Cass and Katarina, Kael Morgana, Garen Lux, Yasuo Yone, Darius Draven, and Vi Jinx. And does not include Ornanivia Volibear, because they're a trio and not a pair,
Oh, okay.
despite all being siblings. And that's it. Those are the fun facts.
Very good.
That was Renekton. Do we have any final thoughts?
There is an AU that you missed, John. I will say that is a Legends of Runeterra specific skin called Corrupted.
Oh.
And this is a really new release, and I think the whole thrust of it is it's either like an alternate timeline or maybe a potential future timeline where a bunch of darkened weapons have surfaced and they've been corrupting people. I'm not going to go through all the stuff that's in it, all of his level ups and shit, but it's Renekton if he corrupted by darkened weapons. So that exists.
Ooh, shit.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
How fun! Damn.
How dare you spend all that time collecting all that information and doing our listeners the solid of, no, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I haven't really followed a lot of what's gone on with that like storyline. This is the thing where Runeterra's fucking weird. I don't know like if this is real, if this is just like a skin AU or whatever. So who knows?
Yeah. It's, it's that wild canon until it isn't, but also not canon at all until it is.
Schrodinger's.
Who fucking knows?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Renekton. We're done. Thank you for listening. Let's wrap up. The baby's waking up for some reason.
Good timing.
Yeah, that was Renekton. And thank you for listening. We have a Twitter. It's @LauraHeads. And a Twitch. Twitch.tv/LauraHeads. John streams on the weekends. He's been doing TFT in the evenings. And then we try to join him for some ARAMs. If you ever want to join in, tune into the stream. And you can hop on in with us.
All are welcome.
Yeah. We have a YouTube as well. We're starting to post these as videos now. If you want to watch the videos, it was a Patreon tier, but it wasn't really working out. So it's just going to be on our YouTube now. We have a Discord as well. The link is in the description of this episode. And we have a Patreon. Thank you so much to all of our patrons.
But a very special thank you to our Medarda tier patrons. Big Man Gnomes, Chloe Things, King of Hearts, Shupa Moustache, and Techno Robert. If you were part of the Sand Thrashers and Renekton came in, I would fight him to keep you safe, which would, keep him occupied for a little bit.
For about a second.
Y'all could get away.
Yeah, you might be able to talk him down for a minute.
Yeah.
Confuse him a little
Battle
bit.
of wits.
Oh. When is the best time for a crocodile to go to the dentist?
All right.
2:30.
Eviscerated. Dead.
John will just get like an earring gun and try to pierce his ears. I got this. All right. And please be sure to join us next week for, I'm sure, will be a much shorter episode as we talk about the Pride Stalker Rengar.